Well, thank you for being here. This was, I was not to have a speaking part in this service because I'm Bill's wife and because I cry. But I am here. Let me tell you how touched I am by those of you who've come today and were able to come. I was prepared, well, let me start someplace else. We were expecting about 40 family and friends and about 60 people to join us, 60 more people to join us today. And I was really touched and overwhelmed by the people who cared about us. But because of the life we're all in presently, I have a Kleenex in my pocket. The original plan isn't the plan. And I guess one of the things we've all learned is that we need to be able to adjust and change. And this is part of that adjustment and change. So we will follow the service as best we can with people being subbed and pulled in. And to all of you, I'm really grateful. Bill and I have belonged to a secular humanistic Jewish congregation since 1982, when we were expecting our firstborn child, and we were looking for a congregation that fit our beliefs in the world and that matched our Jewish identity. And we found the Jewish secular community of Cleveland and belonged there until we moved here in 2010. And when we moved here, as we know who've moved, you know, when you move, you get some things and you lose some things. And we knew one of the things we wouldn't have here was that congregation. And after a couple of years, a good friend of mine, Madeline Clark, and I met each other hiking and discovered that, lo and behold, we'd been married by the same rabbi in Cincinnati. And Madeline belonged to a secular humanistic congregation in Cincinnati. And so our first year here, I had a Passover Seder and invited some friends, and I said, this Seder will be different probably than other Seders you've been to. But 10 of us gathered in our first rental home here, and we had a grand time. And then the fall holidays came around, and they're almost upon us again. And Madeline and I said, well, we don't want it to feel like regular days. We want it to feel like the Jewish holidays. And I hosted, I don't remember who, I hosted Rosh Hashanah and Madeline hosted Yom Kippur. And a couple years later, the Jewish secular community of Asheville came into being. That has been the tradition that Bill and I have followed since 1982. The service that we're going to do today is a service that was written by breathe, Carol, by my two daughters and me. To honor Bill's life and to remember. And that was also in keeping with our tradition. The congregation we belong to does not have a rabbi, and it's member-led. And in the 90s, Bill and I and our oldest daughter wrote their bat mitzvah services. And 3 years later, we wrote another bat mitzvah service. And now we've written this service. We have drawn readings from a book called Here Is My Light, which has a series of readings written by secular humanistic rabbis and leaders throughout the country. And we have woven into this service many significant touch points within Judaism. And you will see and hear those as we proceed through the service. Some of the people who were to speak eulogies are here, some are not, some are filling in. There is a section where we welcome comments from other people, so if you're so inclined to speak about life and courage and loss and remembrance, I would welcome that. I am deeply grateful to those of you who are here, to part of what we call in our walking group, my posse. Eleanor is recording this service so I can send it to my daughters. and other family who work with us today. I think that's probably much more of an introduction than any of you wanted or needed. With that, let me say thank you for being here. Welcome. I'm really very touched by your presence, so thank you. We're now going to turn it over to my sister-in-law, Jackie.
Welcome, family and friends. Sarah couldn't be here today, so she's my niece, and I'm her fill-in, but these words were from her. We have come together to pay tribute and honor the life of Bill, husband, father, brother, uncle, and dear friend. We gather fully aware of the value of love and support that comes from the gathering of family and friends. And although Bill died 3 months ago, the loss and the sadness are still startlingly palpable. We know that in speaking the sadness publicly and sharing what we feel, we take one more step on the path that leads to healing. In sharing our memories, we find our strength in ourselves and through each other. Contrary to popular opinion, time does not heal all wounds. Time is neutral. It is what we do with time that matters. Healing comes as we grieve and as we support each other in our mourning. That is why we are together today, and we light this candle in Bill's memory. If you could all just please stand for a few moments of silence and thoughts and memories of Bill.
Life offers a gift of many blessings. None is more precious than the love of family and friends, in the strength and compassion of parents, in the mutual devotion of husband and wife, brother and sister. We find the security of love. For the landscape of our lives is populated by the presence of open hearts that exact no price for the gift of themselves. When an intimate friend dies, sadness and despair are normal responses. Two people cannot share the best and worst of life in mutual experience and find that absence is trivial. The tribute of love is the pain of separation.
Courage by Rabbi Sherwin Wine. Death needs courage. It is so overwhelmingly final that it fills our lives with dread and anxious fear. When it arrives at the end of a long and happy life, it is never welcome, yet not deeply resented. But when it comes too soon, invading young lives, disrupting hopes and dreams, it adds anger to our fear. We cry out at the injustice of destiny and wait for answers that never seem to come. Courage is the power to confront a world that is not always fair. It is a refusal to beg for what will never be given. It is the willingness to accept what cannot be changed. Courage is loving life even in the face of death. It is sharing our strength with others even when we feel weak. It is embracing our family and friends even when we fear to lose them. It is opening ourselves to love, even for the last time. Courage is self-esteem. It prefers quiet determination to whining. It prefers doing to waiting. It affirms that exits, like entrances, have their own dignity. Bill, whom we love very much and still do, chose to die with dignity. We shall never forget his courage.
Several of you have said that I look just like Bill, so I don't need to introduce myself. I'm Bill's one of his older brothers. I'm the middle guy. I'm Andy, and it's just an honor to be speaking today. I'd like to start by mentioning that this morning we were out, we're staying in Willow Cabins, and for those of you who know the area, you can go up the road and be on a trail right away. And as we were walking along the trail, probably after 25 steps, we came to the first tree across the trail, climbed over that, went a little further, another tree, then another tree, then another tree, and I just couldn't help but think, Bill would be in the position where he'd think this was just a wonderful opportunity to make a difference with the trail crew. There were many times over my recent years where I've expressed the thought that it just was not fair that Bill, with his ongoing health challenges, was so unlucky, especially when compared to the relatively healthy lives given to my older brother Jim and me. Then when Carol said I could speak today, I thought, instead of me talking about Bill's bad luck, I would think hard about and then talk about what I believe Bill would say if he were talking today. So let me pause for a minute and give each of you an assignment. You ready? Come up with the top 3 points you think Bill would have said today if he were here today talking about his own life. Everybody understand your assignment? I'll give you, 30 seconds. Top 3. Okay, in my thought process, the first 3 points he would make came quickly, and you can compare these with yours. Number 1, Bill would say on his own life, the most important accomplishment of my life was when I convinced Carol to marry me. I sure was very, very lucky. Number 2, he'd say, it's hard for me to believe I was able to have 2 such spectacular daughters. It's too bad she isn't here. They aren't here. I was very, very lucky. Okay, number 3 is a little harder, more complicated. If Bill were speaking today, I believe he would say to all of you, look, you really might do this. Look at my obituary. And if you really want to honor me, then make a contribution to the nonprofits. I've listed the Southern Environmental Law Center, Jewish Family Services, Planned Parenthood. And he'd say it because he cared so much about other people in this challenging world. And he sure did care about protecting the outdoors. So I'm sure he'd say being able to further these causes made him feel very lucky. To get to Bill's point number 4, let me talk a little bit about his choice of placing Planned Parenthood on his priority list. I donate to Planned Parenthood. My guest brother Jim does. I should have asked Jason if he does. My guess is, well, I know that our daughter Becca asked that any gifts to her at her wedding be to Planned Parenthood in her mother's honor. And our father, in his estate, even gave his house to Planned Parenthood. Yes, it's an organization responsible for critically important needs, but more relevant to today's discussion, and finally getting to the point, it's also an indication of the influence our mother Jane had on each of us. It was her passion, a passion of caring for others, and it had an immense impact on the 3 of us. Then there was our father. It's hard to believe that when we were young, he was a Republican. But Mom took care of that. No, Dad did not instill his passion for golf on Bill or on any of the 3 of us, but he did help us become astute in everything from finances to greatly valuing friendships. Why did I get sidetracked about our mother and our father? Because I am sure point number 4 on Bill's list of what he would share with you today would be how lucky, how very, very lucky he was to have those parents. Okay, I'm up to point 5. Bill's passion for the outdoors, to enjoy, for others to enjoy through the trails, and to protect them for future generations was absolutely a priority for Bill. So there was no question in my mind that he would say he was lucky, very lucky to enjoy and to make a difference in the outdoors. And then last, but definitely not least, would be the point about Bill's friends. All of you. So many more first in Indianapolis, then in Ohio, most recently in Asheville, I know Bill would have said he was lucky, very, very lucky to have such wonderful friends. So how could I have said so many times over the years how unlucky I thought Bill to be? Yes, the health issues imposed upon him were horrible, just horrible. But as for the life he lived, I'm sure Bill would tell us today he was lucky, very, very lucky.
My name's Jason Falendar. I'm Bill's nephew. I had quite the trip yesterday up from Boston here, but managed to get here one way. I'm going to be reading a remembrance from one of Bill's close friends and neighbors, Dean. And I'm going to do my best. It's in really small text on the phone, so apologize if I don't get this all right. Bill and Carol moved next door to us February of 1976. Where we hadn't been a year yet ourselves. I hadn't known Bill all that long when I called him late one night with a very strange request. It would involve his getting out of bed. I know he was sleeping because bedtime for them was regular and early. Getting his letter out of the garage and climbing up to my second story open porch to enter my house with a credit card to retrieve something I seriously needed. Now, many of you might be more than a little hesitant to make such an odd request of a new friend, but I wasn't at all hesitant because even early in our friendship, I knew that Bill would do it because that's who Bill was. Bill was a helper. Years later, for Bill's 60th birthday, I memorialized that event with a little poem. When I remember Bill, I always think of doing things with him. Sometimes his helping me, sometimes the reverse. We were young, first-time homeowners. Bill was strong. Bill helped me pull Romex through an old gas line to my attic. He helped me by holding up carpet that I'd glued to plywood so I could carpet the interior of more than one van. He helped me hold up drywall to patch the ceiling so I could get the screws in. It wasn't always him helping me. Once in the dead of winter, a raccoon that crawled in Bill and Carol's chimney asphyxiated there and fell down the chimney into the flue. I rigged up a pole with an eye bolt and a rope, and Bill borrowed a neighbor's very tall ladder and climbed up the chimney in a blinding snowstorm where you could put a rope down the chimney with a weight. I went inside and tied up the beast with the rope and came out where Bill was still on the ladder in the blizzard and pulled the creature up the chimney until it could be flown free. No exterminator for us. Bill was friendly and genuinely interested in other people and what they were doing. He'd stop over to see how the brick patio I was building was coming along or how the replumbing with copper lines of the basement in my house was going. It wasn't going well. And we used Bill and Carol's water for a few days, or how the van carpeting was coming, or what we had given each other for Christmas. But the doing wasn't always working. We had a lot of fun together. We got drenched in a downpour at Blossom Music Center and spent a weekend together in a cabin in a state park. Later, they came to meet us in a cottage on Chincoteague Island for a few days. We ate out together in restaurants, but also in their yard. They'd call to suggest, let's combine what we've prepared for dinner and eat together in the yard. Sunday evenings, they'd trope over to our house, even in the snow, to watch 60 Minutes together. We shared Thanksgiving and Seder's, Hanukkah and Christmas, and we shared our travel experiences. Unlike me, Bill loved to walk. Just a little bit. Sometimes I was kind of startled by Bill's candor. After a restaurant meal, he'd say, "You drive home, I'll walk." or when they came to Chincoteague, I'm never gonna get that, where I can't wait to read and doze under an umbrella, and where about a mile from the beach, Bill would say, "Let us out and we'll find you on the beach." When Judy and I were planning a trip on a windjammer in Maine, Bill said he thought it was a terrible idea because you'd be stuck on a boat and couldn't walk. Bill loved trees. There were some kind of scrubby little saplings on their property between our yards, which I thought might as well be cut, but Bill didn't believe in cutting down trees, and he made that clear. And I will always be grateful that Bill let me know that I'd ignored a mutual friend for several years over something trivial, and Bill told me so. We didn't always agree about current events either, but we always shared our views. Bill was always insightful, and he could always be counted on to bring his unique view to the matter. When that young couple moved next door to us almost 50 years ago, we had no idea what a gift, a blessing to our lives their arrival was. I'll close with the last few lines of the poem I wrote for Bill's 60th. We've grown older together. Our times are but ways we look on our lives and count all the days that lie still when at rest in the calendar, but are breathed into life by a friend like Bill Falendar. Farewell, Bill. You were the best of friends.
I'm Mel. I have known Bill Falendar for over 12 years. Knowing Bill has greatly enriched my life, and I can truthfully say I'm a better person because of it. In my life journey, I've had a few events and a few individuals that markedly made a difference in who I am and where I am today. I won't mention the events, but some of the events have already been mentioned, like my marriage and the birth of my daughters. But I'll mention 5 to 6 or 7 individuals that markedly made a difference in my life. I refer to them as my mentors, ones who advised me, supported me, and guided my life. One was my 7th grade science teacher, one was a professor in college, and of course one is my wife, who now for 60 years has been my rock and guiding light. One was a peer during my working career, and in my retirement years, one is Bill Falendar. And as I mentioned, I first met Bill over 12 years ago in the spring of 2012. My wife and I had just moved to Asheville a few months earlier, and I was looking for service groups in which to pass my time. I participated in several of nonprofits, and they were good organizations and great leaders and great missions and did great service to the communities. But I really didn't enjoy the work, so I decided I wanted to support those organizations in other ways besides my time. Being a hiker, I thought about trail maintenance. And I must say, I didn't realize that trails were maintained by volunteers until much later in my life. I thought they were maintained by the Park Service or the Forest Service or contractors or whatever. But after hiking some, I realized the trails that were in good shape and the trails that were in bad shape. And so asking around, I got in contact with the Carolina Mountain Club, also known as CMC. And I became aware that CMC is the oldest and the largest hiking trail maintenance club in southeastern United States. We have over 1,000 members, and we offer over 200 guided hikes a year, and we maintain over 400 trails in western North Carolina. Well, contacting the CMC, I was put in place with different trail leaders. I might say that some of my comments about the trails timeline, you might think it's like 3 days ago. Don't think about the present day, think 3 days ago, because of the events that have happened. But CMC crews go out every day except Sunday. So I tried 3 of these crews, some of them several times. And they were good people, and I liked the work, and the leaders were strong, but I really didn't seem a fit. And it's not them, it was more me, because I always considered myself somewhat of an outlier. and I didn't really fit in with those groups. So I tried the fourth group, and the fourth group was the Thursday crew. And I remember the first day I came home working with Thursday crew, I told my wife, I know what I want to do now, and I know who I want to do it with, Bill Falendar. Bill was an amazing leader in the trail crew, and he was a mover shaker with the Carolina Mountain Club, being a leader in trail maintenance. During my time I spent with Bill, early on, we only had maybe 3 to 5 volunteers per week, but the crew rapidly grew to 10 to 15. We would travel to trailheads sometimes over an hour away, and we would work 5 hours and travel an hour back home. And I got to know Bill, I thought, really well. His ideas, his thoughts, his morals, his ethics, his principles, just an amazing leader. He would take his time to teach a newbie like me trail maintenance. I didn't know how to do a water diversion or how to build a step or even how to lock correctly. But he took his time to teach us, and he even complimented us on our work, when in retrospect, it really wasn't that good. I go back years later, some of the places we worked, and I said, I actually did that, you know, and I learned over time, but we would go home feeling good about ourselves. So we had great camaraderie amongst our volunteers. Bill's attributes are numerous, and we who know Bill, we don't have to mention all of them, but his knowledge, his wisdom, his honesty, his willing to listen to others, and his ability to diffuse argumentative situations so that arguments didn't occur. One of the things that really amazed me about Bill is his kindness, and it mirrors one of my wife's statements that she has told me many years. It's better to be kind than to be right. I must admit I'm working on that, because there's certain things that I know I'm right, and it's hard to be kind. That was Bill. And another thing that I was saying is that you often wonder about who the smartest person in the room is. And it's not the one that has to talk all the time to let everybody know that they're there. The smartest person in the room is the kindness, and that's Bill. That's Bill Falendar. Bill has many families, his immediate family, his extended family, his religious family. I know the trail maintenance family is family to him. There are many other trail maintainers like myself who feel highly and honor Bill. I do consider Bill to be my mentor. He was my advisor, my guiding light and supporter through all these years, and he continues to be. Thank you.
Certainly thank you to Andy and Jason and Mel and Tim for sharing their readings and their thoughts. We certainly want to open this up if anyone else has a comment or reflection in anything. It's an invitation, not an expectation, but this is the time.
Carol. So I only knew Bill for a few months, and Bill was part of a team of 4 or 5 of us who went to Johnston Elementary School to teach literacy to kindergartners and first graders. And Bill was amazing. The kids loved him. I'm not sure why, but they would cluster around him. He would try to read to them because of how advanced his disease was. It was difficult for them to understand him. Didn't seem to matter. They wanted to push him, and 3 or 4 or 5 of them would be taking him where he wanted to go. So what I knew was a little, but I got a little glimpse of what his life must have been like. I also have to comment on Carol. Carol took amazing care of him. I mean, she was totally devoted. She drove virtually every time to Johnston Elementary because his equipment and the size of the car and so forth were well fitted to him. But he left something at that school, and I think that's great.
Marilyn?
Bill and I came to know Carol and Bill from the Parkinson's group and the Parkinson's exercise group. And they both set wonderful examples for the rest of us in the way they lived and the way they went on their journey. About 2 weeks, maybe even a week before they went to hospice, there was an exercise in the Parkinson's exercise group where Melissa threw down a hoop, and then a second hoop, and then the first hoop. And Bill Falendar, and we all watched him and how difficult it was for him to walk, was jumping through those hoops. And it was the most miraculous thing that I think I ever saw, for him to do that. And that, as I say, was maybe 2 weeks at the most before he went into hospice care. So Bill and Carol both have forever set a wonderful example for the rest of us.
My friend Madeline Clark is filling in for another daughter.
I'm going to be reading about memory. The Jewish high holidays begin soon. The new year ends with a moment of memory. As Yom Kippur approaches, our thoughts turn to loss. We are here now for many reasons. With Bill's death, we have lost a loved one. Loss is an inescapable experience of the human condition. We face two paths: to remember and to weep for what we have lost, or to remember and smile at what remains. Both paths are human. Both are appropriate. Both are healthy. And we make space here and now for tears and for consolation. We who live, remember. We who live, live on. Stones. The act of placing stones is significant in Jewish bereavement practice. Small stones are typically placed by people who visit the Jewish person's grave. Today we gather stones as another act of remembrance and respect. It is customary to place the stone with the left hand. After the service, please add your stone to this glass container as we remember Bill.
Let me add that some people have brought stones, and those are welcome. If you didn't know to bring a stone, there are some extras back there, and there's a container here where you can put those stones, and I will keep those as I remember Bill. In the particular grace of Bill lies his immortality. May the memory of Bill, who we loved in life and still in death, bless our thoughts and actions. May the special grace of his years reach out to touch our hearts and give us hope. Please join me in saying the humanistic Kaddish. The Kaddish is a traditional Jewish prayer of mourning. The version is on the back side of the service, and we can read this together responsively. I'll say the line in regular type, and then if you'll join me in the italicized print. At the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember him. At the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember him. At the opening of the buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember him. At the shining of the sun and in the warmth of summer, we remember him. At the rustling of the leaves, I better have somebody else do this.
At the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of the autumn. At the beginning of the year and at its end. When we are weary and in need of strength. When we are lost and sick at heart. When we have joy we crave to share. When we have decisions that are difficult to make. When we have achievements that are based on His. For as long as we live, Bill too will live, for He is a part of us. As please join us for a reception and feel free to use the adjacent outside courtyard. And we want to thank you to the Friends from the Jewish Secular Community of Asheville, the Hospitality Committee of St. Giles, and Deerfield staff for all of their assistance. And as you leave, you can bring a stone up. Thank you.
Wasn't that a lovely, lovely service? Yeah, it was just so that was just the
You like that hill?
I do.
Yeah.
I wish I had known.
Yeah. You know, I was lucky. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for trying. Oh, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Very lucky. I was so lucky. I know. I was lucky. Jane. Thanks. Thanks for coming. I was late. No, I'm glad you were here.
What a grand tribute to a grand guy. Yeah, you are remarkable.
I was lucky, so kind of lost it. We didn't so, oh, I'm glad. I'm glad. We didn't. Thank you. I saw that you came. How lovely. Thank you. Oh, I'm doing fine. Thank you. Oh, Karen, thank you for coming. I'm glad we did it. Yeah. Appreciate you coming. Me too. Me too. Even last minute. And I'm so happy. Thank you. It was a great job. Yeah. I'll never forget his beautiful smile. Yeah, I agree. Thanks. Thank you for coming and letting me use your food today. Glad it's been anyways. Thank you for coming, Ruth. A loss, my all.
You two, every day are what we all hope to be on our best days. You love you. and
Day
respect
by
you.
day.
You bet.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you for coming. I do appreciate people coming. Had to change plans. I will always think of his courage. Yeah. Enormous.
My word is perseverance.
That too. Thank you. Appreciate you coming. Yeah, that's right. They got out of here a little too soon.
And the flowers, I couldn't help it. They just go with this. The fall, it's just beautiful. Beautiful.
I appreciate it. It was a shift of plans, but life is about shifting. Yeah. Sorry. I was very lucky. Thank you. Thanks for filling in.
My pleasure.
I need it and I asked. Thank you. Absolutely. So careful, really. Bill would be so proud of you. Just knowing this was lovely. Just and thank you for letting go. Yeah, I'm so grateful you came.
Well, I thought I didn't know what I heard about it. Then I heard it was just a little group.
Yeah, it changed.
We were
And
lucky.
people came and I'm grateful. I didn't know if we'd have 5 or 15 and it didn't matter who's ever here. I'm grateful. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for letting us be a part of this marvelous celebration. It's that great here.
Yeah, and I'm just grateful that we're here. We've
I
gathered.
wish I had known, seen myself over the years. A few times, twice maybe we had dinner or lunch or something with you guys and chatted. I said, I spent more time with this guy and I just never did it, you know, and I regret that.
The world's full of
I
interesting
know.
people, and he was one
He
of
was
them.
one of them. And so to
Such
hear
a
these
good
marvelous
human being.
things about what a good person he is.
He was. Thank you for being here. Really, I'm so grateful. Hey, Peter. At first, I didn't see you, and I thought, oh, Peter's not here, and I just thought that was too bad. And then I saw you, so grateful to her. Just want to say thanks. Everything you said was wonderful. Everything you said was wonderful. Everything you said. And I'm so glad that he had you and the friendship that you have. Yeah.
I was going to say also about it, when I think of and talk about he's with me, he's with my actions and the way I think.
He's in us.
I forgot to say that.
You know it, I know it. I love you guys too. Last but not least. The best for last. Oh, good. And Eleanor recorded it, so we'll keep returning for that. It's just getting out of your neighborhood and being able to be here. Oh my God. You should know. Huh. We're what do they call it? Carboys. Yeah. There's flushy toilets. They're not drinking water. No. We have bottled water for that. Oh, just to flush. We were so desperate for water. We looked at it and we said, oh, we should want a container. It's for flushing. Don't drink. Don't drink.
Beautifully done. And everything you touch is
Yeah.
very few regrets in my time at Deerfield. All the regrets I had with people I wish I knew. Never got committed.
What are you doing?
Get out of the way, she's trying to film.
Oh.
Okay.